all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Well, that is jazz vocalist Blaze Lantana and Joel Robin on the keyboard, and they are part of the 10th annual Wine, Women, and Jazz fundraising event that is happening Saturday, April 30th from 4 until 6:30 at the Arizona Culinary Institute. Arizona Culinary Institute chef
That's me.
Christopher Wolf, here to continue making the red wine braised short ribs, which happen to be one of the things that we get to enjoy if we head out to the event.
Yeah, we got a lot of different foods that are going to be featured, and this is just one of the many things to try and entice you, maybe, if you haven't purchased your ticket yet. To just
well, and $55 for the tickets if you buy them now. They get a little bit more expensive the day of, but it's all going to a good cause. We'll talk about that again in just a couple of minutes. But kind of bring us up to speed on where we have been and where we are going now.
Okay, so in the beginning of the show, we started by talking about how to begin the braising of the short ribs, and let's imagine by the magic of television that we fast-forwarded 2 hours in time, and you would have something like this.
This has come out of the oven.
These are out of the oven.
What'd you say, 350 for 2 hours?
350 degrees for 2 hours. These are out of the oven, extremely tender, braised beautifully. And the liquid that's in the bottom is just some of the strained braising liquid that we had cooked them in.
And the braising is a technique?
Braising is a slow cooking technique that involves moisture and just time. It's a great way to take a tougher piece of meat and turn it into a tender piece of meat.
Okay, and we cover it with a little bit of parchment paper,
I like parchment paper, yeah.
Why do you like that as opposed to just like the top of the container?
It allows some of the liquid to evaporate, thereby concentrating the flavor of the sauce.
All right, good to know.
So this is one, that's the star, but obviously every star needs its supporting cast, i.e. you the star, me supporting you.
I like it.
The feature that we have coming up next is I'm going to show you how to do a soft polenta.
Okay.
What we've done here is just taken some milk and heated it, got a little salt and pepper in there, and then I take a little bit of polenta, nothing fancy.
Remind us what polenta is.
Polenta is just coarsely ground cornmeal.
Okay.
If all you had at the store was just labeled cornmeal or corn flour, it'll still work just fine. So we're going to go ahead and take this milk, whisk in our polenta, and then it just takes just a few minutes to actually notice any sort of a thickening effect. What you'll actually have when you're done is something maybe a touch thinner than the consistency of mashed potatoes when it's finished. And it's a nice corn product that sort of breaks up the monotony. It's a little bit of a different starch option. And then what we'll do is this thickens. I have some Parmesan cheese and some mascarpone, being an Italian cream cheese, that I think really just takes it to the next level.
Well, when you talk about the name of this event, and this again being one of the dishes that we're going to be able to enjoy over there, we're wine, women, and we're jazz. We've got the jazz covered. I see, I see the woman.
Yep.
And I also see a great dish. Props or significant, these bottles of wine?
Those are the 5 wines we're going to be serving. If you're a wino, I'm starting on my left over on the far end. That's a red from Italy. Coming in next to that, we got a nice white. It's a Sauvignon Blanc from Argentina. In the middle, we got a sparkling wine from California, a California Chardonnay next to that, and then finishing up, we got a blend from Washington State over here. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah blend. So we got all your bases covered and plenty of wonderful food to complement the wonderful jazz and just make it an awesome event.
Well, speaking of getting the bases covered too, it looks like some of our Facebook friends that are watching, and they're also weighing in on some of the topics that we're talking about. We asked them, if they like red or the white. It's really split down the middle.
Oh yeah.
And for me, I've got it split down the middle as well. I like the red and I like the white. It just depends. Honestly, sometimes it depends on the temperature outside for me.
But I guess also, why choose when you can have them all?
It's true, especially if you go to this event. You can have a little sampling of everything.
Absolutely.
Mix the red and the white, then you have a rosé, right?
Yeah, a little jungle juice mix. Yeah.
If anybody has any questions for Chef Christopher, weigh in on Facebook as well. We can go ahead and present those questions to him here in the last segment. Now, we're constantly stirring this to make sure it doesn't get clumpy. Yeah,
to make sure it doesn't get clumpy and to make sure that it doesn't burn to the bottom. Milk has a horrible tendency to scorch and burn pretty easily, so you got to give this thing a little bit of attention. At first, as you can see, it looks very thin. For the first minute or two, you're going to think, my measurements are wrong. This doesn't look right. It needs several minutes to really start to soak up that milk and thicken, and then you'll see it just happens like that. It almost takes on a molten lava sort of bubbly effect as it's cooking.
I like when you tell us that you think you're going to be doing it wrong in advance, because so many of us would be at home going, oh, gosh, I did this totally wrong, because we wouldn't see that action happening yet.
So much of cooking is, less instant gratification, more patience, and a little bit of love. I think sometimes we look at things and expect to snap our fingers and it's going to be done, when maybe it just needs 5 more minutes to cook properly.
Right. It's sort of a symphony of trying to be able to get everything to, play out at the right time. For me, it seems like something always either gets burned or it's too cold, one of the two. But continue to whisk that, and we're going to continue to let these braised ribs warm up just a little bit and kind of bathe in that sauce. What we're going to do is we're going to listen to a little bit more wine a little bit listen to a little bit more jazz a little bit later in the show, talk a little bit more about the wine, and then just kind of bring this all to a close.
Sounds great.